My name is Serena Knox, I'm 30, and here's how the reading of the will went. The attorney cleared his throat, paper shuffled. My sister, Marissa, received the family house with the white porch, the brokerage accounts, the summer property by the lake with the dock we sanded every July, and the brooch my grandmother touched 3 times for luck before every holiday photo. Me? Nothing. They didn't even look embarrassed. Dad leaned back in his chair, laced his fingers over his stomach, and said, "You can earn for yourself. You're capable. She's the chosen one chosen." As if we were in a divine pageant and I'd never even made it past auditions. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just nodded and folded my hands in my lap so they wouldn't shake. Let the silence do the speaking. It said everything. On the drive home, the world looked the same. Same stoplights, same bakery smell, same old trees bending the same old way, but something in me had snapped into place with a quiet, final click. Capability had become their excuse for cruelty. If I could earn, then I could also be stripped. If I was the warrior, then I could be abandoned on the battlefield and expected to walk it off. They raised me tough so I could be useful. They forgot tough is not the same as disposable. I got home, set my keys in the dish, and opened my laptop. Then I canceled everything. The $1,100 auto transfer for Mom's meds. The $800 I sent to cushion Dad's mortgage. The tuition top-off for my nephew when finances got tight. The annual emergency stash they tapped every Christmas like clockwork and then called generosity. Gone. All of it. They didn't notice. Not at first. They were busy popping champagne with Marissa, blessing her inheritance on Instagram like it had rained straight from heaven. New chapter. So grateful. Family legacy. I scrolled, not because I liked pain, but because I wanted to remember the exact faces they made when they forgot I existed. A month later, my phone pinged. "Mom, mortgage is due. Can you cover it this month?" I stared for a second, then typed 2 words. Not mine. No emojis, no punctuation. Clean, cold truth. 5 minutes later, she called. I let it ring out. Some debts aren't financial. Some are emotional. The balance was overdue, but not on my side. The thing about silence is, it grows teeth. 2 hours later, Dad emailed me with a subject line that mimicked his tone. Re-mortgage. "You're being selfish," he wrote. "We did our best. Don't let bitterness ruin the family." I read it twice, not because it hurt, but because it didn't. I remembered the nights I had patched this family together like a seamstress working a gown minutes before the show, Dad's back pain treatments, I paid, Mom's dental implants, I covered. The week Marissa dropped out and ran to Cabo. I bought a last-minute ticket, pulled her out of a hotel lobby at 3 a.m., and flew her home. I had been a daughter, a sponsor, a safety net, a quiet paramedic. But in the lawyer's office, I wasn't a daughter. I was an afterthought with a reliable income. The next morning, I walked by the bakery I loved as a kid. Through the window, there was Marissa, laughing, a coffee in one hand, an iPad in the other. House listings glowed on the screen. Big porches, blue pools, palms. She'd inherited everything, and already she was shopping for more. I didn't go in. I walked to a bench under the old elm and opened my banking app. The family emergency account, the one we'd set up years ago for everyone, the one they'd kept passwords for even after the will, showed $18,340. I tapped freeze. Then I moved it to a locked savings account with my name on it. Not a theft, a rescue. The boat I had built was sinking, and the only person still bailing water was me. By evening, my screen flashed a chain of texts from Marissa. Marissa, "Hey, weird, can't pull money. Did something happen to the account?" Marissa, "Mom says you're being vindictive. Please just talk to her." I set the phone down. Vindictive would have been rage. This wasn't rage. It was math. It was fairness arriving late but finally finding the right address. And fairness, even when it's quiet, sounds like peace. After midnight, the texts stopped. I pictured her scrolling again and again through the shared account, realizing the bottomless well had a bottom and a lock. I didn't do it to punish her. I did it to see who they were without me. When you remove the scaffolding, you discover what the structure is made of. 3 days passed. Silence. Then the landline rang. I hadn't touched it in years. It still lived on a little table by the entryway, a relic from another version of us. I let it go to voicemail. Mom's voice came through tinny and familiar, like an old radio. "We know what you did, and you're making a mistake. Come to Sunday dinner, and let's talk. You're still family, still family." The words clung to me like wet fabric. I looked up at the mantel where our last complete family photo sat in a heavy silver frame. I was 16, braces glinting, holding a cake I had baked myself. Marissa glowed under the chandelier, golden and gifted. My parents' arms wrapped around her shoulders. In the half-inch of space to the left, you could see a bit of my elbow. I was there technically. Sunday came. I didn't go. I made pasta with anchovies and lemon, ate it barefoot at my kitchen counter, and listened to the clock tick without dread. The quiet wasn't empty. It was full of the sound of my own life taking up room. After dinner, I took a walk. The evening smelled like rain and yeast. I passed the bakery again, lights low now, chairs flipped onto tables. In my mind, my father's sentence replayed, "You're capable." Capability had been my collar. You can do without, therefore, we can take. But I had finally unclasped it. It fell, soundless but heavy, to the floor. On Monday, HR deposited my paycheck. I paid my own rent. I stacked 2 crisp bills into an envelope marked Future Serena. It felt like oxygen. Not an inheritance, not a gift, just money that, for once, would go to the woman who earned it. By midweek, the family group chat sprang back to life like a machine that only starts when I feed it power. "Dad, we should meet." Emotions got high. "We want to move forward." "Mom, bring dessert on Sunday. Your lemon tart is everyone's favorite." "Marissa, I found a contractor for the lake house. You'll love the plans." I read, then muted the thread. Moving forward is not the same as moving on. One is a reset button they press when consequences arrive. The other is a road you take when you finally decide your time is yours. I started making small lists in a notebook titled What I Keep. My mornings, my paycheck, my boundaries, my grandmother's recipes, even if I didn't get her brooch. My peace. That Friday, I went to the lake alone. Not to the family place. I am not a ghost. I don't haunt what isn't mine, but to the public shoreline down the road. The dock creaked like it always had. The water wore that greenish shimmer that means summer is almost here. I sat on the end, dangling my feet, and let the wind ask its questions. What happens when the family that raised you like a warrior expects you to bow? You stand up straighter. What happens when capability becomes the excuse for cruelty? You stop letting them weaponize your strength. The sun dipped. I drove home with the windows down. My phone buzzed at a red light, unknown number, and for the first time in a long time, my heart didn't lurch. I let it go. Back at my apartment, I pulled the will packet from a drawer and set it under a plant to flatten the creases. Paper is just paper until you decide what it means. Tonight, it meant this. They chose their chosen one. I would choose me. If you're choosing yourself too, hit subscribe, like, and share. The next part gets into what happened when my not mine didn't break me. It broke their favorite story about me. Have you ever been tagged in a post that wasn't meant to celebrate you, but to humiliate you? If you've ever been treated like a backup plan, hit subscribe, like, and share. Because what comes next is proof that silence can echo louder than any toast. I was halfway to a rented cabin, 3 hours from the city, when my phone buzzed at a gas station. Old college roommate Lindsay. "Saw your sister's post. You okay?" She attached a screenshot of Marissa's Instagram story. It was a photo of our parents' house, captioned, "When your fam tries to punish you, but forgets they still owe $1,200 on last month's credit card bill." "Oops," she tagged me, publicly. And that's when I smiled. Because what she didn't know was that I had already closed that credit card the day before. The collector was calling, but not me. By Monday morning, the silence that used to be mine was suddenly theirs. Missed calls stacked, numbers blocked, emails clogged my inbox with subject lines like, "Urgent, please," and "We didn't mean it that way." I didn't open a single one. Instead, I watched balances in their once joint accounts bleed into late fees, penalties, default notices, all the paperwork that used to land on my desk, all the fires I used to put out. Not my desk anymore, not my name, not my problem. Tuesday night, I sat on the porch of my rented cabin while rain streaked down pine needles. The wood smelled like old earth. My phone lit up with a text from Dad. "We were wrong. You're not just capable. You're essential." I stared at it. It was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever gotten from him. But it wasn't really an apology, was it? It was desperation disguised in softer font. By Wednesday, they switched strategies. They started showing up. First, Marissa parked outside my apartment building, pretending she just happened to be in the neighborhood. Then Mom appeared behind me at the grocery store checkout line, standing too close, staring at the debit card in my hand, the one she used to call ours. Without turning, I said, "You shouldn't have posted that toast." Her lip trembled. "It wasn't meant to hurt you." I bagged my groceries, slid the receipt into my pocket. "Then maybe next time don't label me backup." The scanner beeped. The woman behind us shifted uncomfortably. My mother didn't follow me outside. She just stood under the fluorescent lights while the automatic doors closed between us like a slow, final curtain. And in that moment, it hit me. They hadn't just underestimated me, they had built their entire lives on the belief that I would never walk away. But I had. And the silence was finally mine. By Friday, I knew they had run out of options. That's when Ezra showed up at my door. No gold watch this time, no smug grin. Just him in a wrinkled hoodie, clutching a grocery bag like a peace offering. I didn't invite him in. He shifted awkwardly on the doormat. "Can we talk?" he asked. I leaned against the frame. "Depends. Is this about the house, the car, or the canceled party venue?" He gave a shaky laugh. "You made your point." "I wasn't making one," I replied. "I was just correcting a long-standing miscalculation." He looked down at the bag in his hand, voice low. "They're scared." Dad's worried about foreclosure. Mom, she's pretending she isn't crying every day. "And you?" I asked. He sighed. "I'm angry. At myself. I thought they were right about you." He swallowed. "But you showed up for them over and over and they used you like a vending machine. I went along with it." For a moment I saw him, not the golden child, not the chosen one, but the brother who once split his Halloween candy with me, half for him, half for me. I let the silence stretch before saying softly, "They taught us one of us had to lose for the other to win." "They were wrong." He nodded. "So, can we fix this?" I glanced past him at the street where Mom's car idled. "Only if you walk away from their version of winning." Ezra turned, looked, then slowly stepped off the porch, alone. And for the first time, it felt less like betrayal and more like a beginning. 3 days passed. Ezra didn't return. But someone else did. At exactly 9:12 a.m. on a gray Wednesday, I opened my door to find Mom standing there, not with groceries, not with tears, but with a clipboard. "Let's be civil," she said. "No hello." She held up a folder. A repayment proposal. Mom stood on my porch with a clipboard like it was a peace treaty. "You'll get your money back gradually," she said. "We can't do everything at once." I raised an eyebrow. "I never asked for repayment." Her lips tightened. "You've made things quite difficult. You cut the utilities. You canceled the fundraiser bookings. You pulled out of Ezra's co-signed lease. I pulled out of your expectations," I said coolly. "The rest was just math." She blinked. I continued. "You built a house of cards with my name at the bottom." I just stopped holding it up. Her voice dropped, a hiss more than a plea. "You owe this family. Everything we've done was to protect your brother's future." I folded my arms. "And what about mine?" A silence followed, heavy and hollow. Then she softened. a practiced move. "We can start fresh," she whispered. "If you just come home." I looked her dead in the eye. "I am home." I pointed at the ground beneath me. "This one's mine." Paid with real sweat, not stolen favors, she left the clipboard on the porch. No goodbye. When I closed the door, I noticed the fine print at the bottom of the document. Condition: no further public discussion of family matters. I smiled. They weren't trying to pay me back, they were trying to shut me up. The clipboard sat there for 2 days. I didn't sign it, didn't move it, let the rain warp the edges. On Friday morning, a courier arrived with an envelope, certified mail, signature required. Inside, a letter from their attorney. "This is a formal notice requesting you cease public statements regarding family matters. In exchange, repayment of funds will begin immediately. Failure to comply may result in legal action." I laughed out loud. Here it was, on paper, what I'd known all along. They didn't care about repair. They cared about control. I slid the letter under a magnet on my fridge next to my niece's crayon drawing. Messy purple letters read, "At Auntie Serena equals hero." I ran my thumb over the waxy scribbles, then opened my laptop. One by one, I attached every bank transfer, every text, every screenshot of their chosen one's speeches. Then I sent to a journalist friend at a local business paper. That night, the headline went live. "Capable daughter or silent bank? How one woman's family used her as a financial lifeline." It wasn't salacious, it wasn't vengeful, it was just facts. By morning, my inbox overflowed with messages from women I'd never met. "Thank you for telling this story. This is my life, too." I thought I was alone. For once, the narrative wasn't theirs, it was mine. And the more they tried to shame me into silence, the louder my truth became, without a single insult or threat. That evening, a black SUV idled across the street. Ezra got out alone. No pearls, no clipboard, no lawyer. Just a folded piece of paper in his hands. When he reached my porch, he held it out, a handwritten note. 4 words: "I'm done. I'm sorry." I read it once, then again. The ink bled slightly at the edges, like maybe his hands had been shaking when he wrote it. I didn't text back. I didn't call. I didn't invite him in. Instead, I walked past him down the porch steps into the cool morning air where the breeze didn't carry guilt, just clarity. At the corner cafe, I ordered the same latte I'd bought 1,000 times, but this time it tasted different, lighter, like it belonged only to me. My phone buzzed, voicemails from Mom, texts from Dad, even one from the cousin who hadn't spoken to me in years. But I didn't listen. I didn't need to. I had already answered, with silence, with boundaries, with a peace they couldn't bargain back. Later that week, I donated my niece's crayon drawing to a local gallery running a show on unsung women. The caption stayed as she'd written it. "Auntie Serena equals hero." Visitors left sticky notes beside it, sharing stories of their own invisible battles. Reading them, I realized my private rebellion had cracked something wider open. That Friday, I signed a lease on a tiny writing studio. Not a big purchase, just a sunlit space with bookshelves and a lock they didn't have a key to. A place to be more than their bank, more than their backup. Just Serena. I didn't seek revenge. I didn't shame them online. I did something more powerful. I stopped being useful to people who only loved me when it served them. They kept calling, but peace doesn't ring loud. It just settles. Quietly. Deeply. As I fed the final letter from their lawyer into the shredder, the paper whispered and vanished. I smiled. Some things don't deserve to be read. Some closures don't need permission. Just a locked door and a woman on the other side, finally free. If Serena's journey gave you courage to protect your own boundaries, tap subscribe, like, and share. Because sometimes the most radical revenge is not payback, it's no longer paying in at all.